So less than 2.5 weeks out till Boston at this point. I could not be more excited, definitely a little bit nervous, but it's almost here. Heading out for last 20+ mile run of this training cycle for Boston. This will be the 4th one. Biggest week last week ever at 64 miles, so feeling strong. My hip is a little bit sore, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, I feel good. So it's gonna be a really nice warm day. So it'll be warmer than what I've been used to, that's for sure. But just excited to wrap this one up. So let's go. So it's the last day of March. I'm about to do a speed session. It's a Thursday, which I always do speed sessions on this day. Typically I go to Orange Theory first and then finish up with another speed session right after, but we're 3 weeks, well no, only 2.5 weeks out at this point to Boston. So I think I'm done with Orange Theory. Stick with some less intense strength stuff on my own at home as we finish up this cycle. So today I'm kind of going to do like a progression tempo workout with marathon pace, working down to tempo or faster. So yeah, I think just the continuous will be really good for me for building confidence and getting that hard continuous workout that's uncomfortable but doable. So I'll let you know how it goes, but it's been a really good month, so we'll talk more about it. So quality session is wrapped up for the day. I ended up doing 6.5 total miles of work after a warm-up. I do the warm up around this like little lake thing, and that's where I just finished my cool down too, for a total of 9.1 miles. So my quality sessions are usually between like 8 to 10 miles. So keeping it about the same in this first taper week, 2.5 weeks to go till Boston. So anyway, for the workout, I just did a progression. So the goal was to do 2 at marathon pace, 2 at like half marathon pace, 2 at tempo. All of them were a little bit faster than that, which is fine. It's funny, even after as long as I've been running, many years, it's still tough to get the pacing down. I try not to look at my watch, that I look and I'm usually going too fast, but I guess that's a good sign too. I felt really good. I guess the last one ended up being pretty much my 10K pace, maybe a little bit slower, but and then the half mile I did at the end, I did marathon pace just to kind of like use that as recovery pace after the hard miles, and definitely wasn't easy or anything after doing all that work and then cool down. So feeling good, feeling strong. It's a good workout for confidence. I think I made the right decision not going to Orange Theory today, just because I just wanted a lot of miles put together for today. So yeah, enjoying the week. The weather is beautiful today and just springtime, loving it. So 2.5 weeks ago, I'll keep going. All right, so you guys saw that 20 miler. I never did wrap it up back at the end, but it went really well. I got to do the entire thing outside, which I wasn't able to do for the long run before that, just because of the weather. It was snowing a lot that day and like thin ice, and so I did like half outside and half on the treadmill, which is fine. I mean, like you guys always hear, nothing's perfect ever in marathon training. There's always something you have to adapt, but I was just really happy. The weather, super nice, a really good 20 miler. In fact, it was a little warmer than I would have liked, but it was good. And I ended up getting down to be able to do a fast finish. I always really struggle, honestly, with kind of getting the pace work in with some of the 20 milers. I don't know if that's just mental or if it's just because of the really high mileage that I was doing at that point, getting in these 60-mile weeks and things like that. I think that that's a big part of it as well. But I was just happy to like be able to go faster at the end, and that was honestly all I really cared about. So yeah, just really happy with it. Really good speed session, as you saw. And yeah, so I'm basically in the middle of the taper. I'm not really changing a lot this week with the taper. I am down maybe about 10%, but not really worrying about it too much. I mean, honestly, I don't really taper the miles until 2 weeks out, which I'll share that with you, how I'm going to do that. But otherwise, looking at March, I ended up getting in my 3 last 20-mile long runs. So I did a total of 4, which was more than I've ever done before. I usually do 3. For Boston, when I had a coach a couple years ago, I definitely would have gone to that had COVID not happened, but that was a big deal for me this time around. I wanted to get to at least a few 60-mile plus weeks, as well as 4 20-mile plus training runs. So I did that. They weren't all in a row. I basically went 20, 20, and they were all around 20. They weren't exactly 20, but 20, 20, and then 17 for cutback week, and then 20, and then this last one of 20. So that's what that looked like. I did a lot of marathon pace work within the 17 miler. It's always pretty easy for me to do that in a cutback week. So that's where I ended up fitting in, just because I knew it might be hard in the 20 miler. And I was honestly okay with that. So that's what I ended up doing. And my biggest celebration, honestly, was getting to 253 miles, which was by far the most miles I've ever done. I think my biggest before that was April of last year, which was like 222 in 30 days, which March has 31 days, but still. Last month for February, I was at 214, and then January I was at 200. So yeah, I went 200, 214, 253, which kind of sounds like a big jump, which when you think about February being 28 days, I was trying to think about the 10% rule, but I also knew how I was feeling and just really paid attention to the signals of my body, that type of thing. So just really stoked about that. And it's not always about every single mile, but higher mileage definitely does equate to better performance and better aerobic endurance over time. If you've worked up to that gradually, I think my body was definitely really ready for that mileage. I honestly don't know how I pulled it off, but just really excited about that. So yeah, we're moving into the taper. But as far as kind of celebrations of challenges this month, celebration is just really feeling strong with that mileage continuously. I talked about little tightness in my hip for that long run, but I know how to work through that. I know when it's more than I can handle, and I just really paid attention to doing the stretches that I know I need to do, as well as the exercises that I learned from my PT last year. So just being really consistent with that. Otherwise, I literally did not miss a training day this entire training cycle for anything. My body just felt really healthy. I didn't have anything come up that I, couldn't work around, and just really, really excited about that. And yeah, just did every day as it was intended, supposed to be, basically what was on my schedule, because I keep the same set schedule every week with 6 days of running, which is always going long run, recovery run, rest day, quality day, recovery day, medium long run day, recovery day. So I did that exactly as was intended. So just, it doesn't always work out that way. And so I'm just really happy that it did this time. Yeah, I just think you learn a lot about yourself as a runner over time, and every training cycle I learn more about what I should be doing, what I can be doing better, how I can improve, all those things. So just trying to get better every training cycle. I mean, that's what I've really tried to focus on. And yeah, there's always going to be room for improvement, but happy with it overall. And I really just feel like at this point I've controlled what I can. I've put in the work, I've put in the hard work, and I'm ready to go for that 3:30 time goal at Boston. And we'll just see what happens. And in the end, I'm going to be happy with whatever the outcome is, because I'm super excited to be there. I've been waiting a long time to get there, and yeah, it is my victory lap, but I also want to see what I can do and reach my potential. And so that's why I just made sure to put in all the work over this training cycle. And it won't be for lack of trying, that's for sure. And that's really what matters to me in the end. As far as challenges that I faced, I would just say this past month, sleep, even though that was a celebration before. Even when we had a new puppy, I was sleeping really well at the beginning of this training cycle after having a really rough year of sleep last year. But I don't know, things that happen within my family is the most important thing to me, obviously. But when things seem a little bit out of my control there, even things that really shouldn't be that stressful, sometimes I let get to me, just because, yeah, I want to make sure I'm taking care of my family the best that I can, and that everyone's doing well and happy. And when kids get sick or have stressful things happen for them, it's hard, and that affects my sleep for sure, thinking about how I can help them. And yeah, when stressful things happen for me or for work, when my creative mind is working in the middle of the night, it's really hard for me to turn that off. And so that's just an ongoing struggle of mine that I want to keep working on, and that's hard. And then it's a vicious cycle because I know I need sleep in order to run all the miles and be healthy during the miles, and then I get stressed that I'm doing these hard workouts when I haven't slept well. And yeah, so I know a lot of you guys know how that goes. So otherwise, I think, you know, that's probably the biggest challenge. Otherwise, I've felt good. I think nutrition is always something that I could work better on, but at the same time, I think one of life's greatest joys is food, and I try to do well and eat healthy, but at the same time, I don't want to like fully restrict myself, and that's something I've stressed a lot about in the past, that I don't want to put time and energy into stressing about, and I don't think it's worth it. And we only get one life, and yeah, we have to have the things that bring us joy as well. However, I did talk about in January how I cut out the drinking, and I barely drink anymore, and that's something I'm going to keep going forward, and that's just something I absolutely don't need in my life. It doesn't make me healthier physically or mentally, and I think there's definitely a place for a glass of wine with a steak dinner or a margarita on the patio, you know, on a nice summer day, all of those things. But otherwise, beyond that, in any sort of excess, I know it's not good for me. So that's something I've been really proud of, just changing really in the last year, honestly. So next up, we have the taper, which I am already in, and this week, like I said, is really not much different. I think just cutting about 10%, probably it'll be. The big cut's gonna start coming next week, and that'll be down to about 70% of my total mileage. So I was at 64, probably do between 40, 45, something like that. And then big cut that final week, probably down to about 20-ish miles. I'm not going to get super specific. I would say in that last week, I really just listen to my body, do what feels right, and yeah, don't go too hard. But as far as long runs, obviously peak was this 20 miler that I just did and just hit peak week. Then this one will be about 15 miles, which is funny because a couple weeks ago my medium long run was 14 miles. So going to 15 miles for a long run, it's definitely a big cut. I'm still going to be doing the medium long run this week, but that'll be about 10 or 11. And then my final long run will be 10 miles. So that's usually what works well for me. And I just know in the end, the hay is in the barn almost. I'm almost there. Still need, you know, some good quick speed sessions just to get that turnover and get my mind right, that type of thing. But at this point, for the most part, I've done all I can do. The training is there. Just really excited to be able to go to Boston, that it's finally here. My family is going to be there, my mom and dad. Just could not be happier about the way things have gone, and I'm excited that it's almost here. So make sure you guys tune in with me in the upcoming video. I'm definitely going to be doing one on pacing for Boston. I'll talk a little bit about how my taper is gone in that video as well, and might do an additional kind of packing for Boston video, which is just kind of fun. You never know what the weather is going to be like in Boston, so I have to be prepared for everything. So thanks for joining me on this journey, guys. It's been fun to have you and talk about it. I just feel grateful to be a part of it all, honestly, and grateful for all of you. So thank you for the support. It means so much to me, and I'll catch you in that last video before I get on a plane and head to Boston and do my thing.